All right, so thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Karen Knox, and I am the Chief Development and Partnerships Officer here at the Educated Choices Program. We are a US-based nonprofit academic organization that focuses on offering free educational resources to secondary and post-secondary schools worldwide, addressing the topic of food choices and their impacts on human and environmental health. Today, we are here holding our first ever live stream event, showcasing our brand new educational short called Growing Community Roots. Growing Community Roots is going to dig into the history of gardening and its important role that it plays in food sovereignty, as well as creating a more just and sustainable food system. I have with us several very important collaborators that helped make this possible, and I'd like them all to have a moment to introduce themselves. So first, I'd like to introduce you to our CEO and founder here at Educated Choices Program, Lorena Muka.
Thank you so much, Karen. Welcome, everyone. I couldn't be happier to be here with all of you. It's amazing to see how technology helps us be together from wherever we are. And I love to see all the smiling faces. As Karen mentioned, our organization provides free science-based education about the impacts of food choices on human health, on the environment, and society at large. Our educational packages address these issues by covering a wide variety of topics, from the relationship between certain foods and disease prevention, for example, to the latest food technology innovations such as cultivated meat. Our presentations are engaging, professionally narrated, updated regularly, and support the state standards in all 50 US states and many other countries. In fact, our educational packages have reached 27 countries so far, and have already provided free education and put it in the hands of 2.8 million people. Our educational packages are offered, of course, in English, but also in Spanish and German. And we hope to offer them in different languages in the near future. As you can see, we believe, we're convinced that education is a right, and we want to do our part to put these free educational materials into as many people as possible. Our mission is to empower as many individuals to help create and transform a food system that is healthier and sustainable for everyone on this planet. We are honored to be here and to have collaborated with on this project with U.S. Representative Oye Owolewa and the amazing staff at Martha's Table and Love and Carrots. Thank you so much, everyone. We are convinced that unity and collaboration are of paramount importance in order to accelerate the change that we want to see happen in this world. We hope that you enjoyed this live event. After all, community gardens are transformative. They have innumerable benefits, and they can help better all communities if we put more emphasis on them. We invite you to visit our website, to follow us on social media, to learn more about us, and of course, to get involved if you desire to do so. Thank you so much, and enjoy this live event.
Thank you, Lorena. I'd like to next pass the microphone over to Carly at Love and Carrots.
So much. My name is Carly Mercer. I'm the Director of Garden Programming at Love and Carrots. Love and Carrots is a DC-based company that designs, builds, and maintains vegetable gardens for homeowners, families, communities across DC, Maryland, and Virginia. We've been around since 2011, and over that time, we've installed over 1,000 gardens in these communities. And we also assist over 150 families and community members every season with biweekly maintenance and coaching services. So we're there in the garden working side by side, teaching them as we go, empowering them to take their garden education into their own hands and giving them the tools that will help them, pass this information along to their family members and community members and friends for the future. And, community gardens to us are a super crucial tool while we install a lot of home gardens for families, not everyone has access to the space you need to have a productive and vibrant home garden. And so community spaces like Martha's Table, where members who don't have that space at home have the option to get their hands dirty, to learn from people who know what they're doing, really accelerates their education and their empowerment in a way that growing in a pot on your balcony just simply can't. And so we're really excited to be a part of this project, and we're really looking forward to the short.
Thanks for being here. And next, I'd like to hand the microphone over to Erica from Martha's Table.
Thanks, Karen. Hi, everyone. My name is Erica Lonesome. I manage outreach and engagement for the healthy food programs at Martha's Table in Washington, D.C. Martha's Table is a community-based, community-led organization that works to build strong families, strong communities, and strong children in Ward 8 in Washington, D.C. And we do this in a variety of ways by offering opportunities for older youth to be able to have expansive experiences that will help carry them forward in their careers. We have early parenting programs. We have a nationally accredited early childhood education program and incredible food programs, emotional wellness. And so there are a lot of different ways that we work to support the community. One of the really important ways that we do that is through gardening. We believe really strongly that gardening is important, not just for the opportunity for exercise and outdoors that it provides, but also the ways that it can support childhood development, the ways that it can bring communities together, and the ways that home gardening and community gardening can actually provide an entry into the food system for folks that may have been shut out of it traditionally due to institutionalized racism and other types of things. So we're really excited to be able to be a part of this project. We're really excited to be able to talk with some of you about the work that we're doing, and we're really looking forward to it. So thank you for having me.
We are honored to have you here. Thank you, Erica. And last but most definitely not least, I would now love to hand the microphone, the virtual microphone, over to U.S. Representative Oye. Thank you so much for being here today, and we'd like to give you the mic to introduce yourself and say a few things.
Yes, thank you for allowing me to be here as well, Karen. My name is Dr. Oye Owolewa. I'm the U.S. Representative of Washington, D.C. And what really attracted me to today's Growing Roots Together Community Roots is my own personal story. I'm a second generation Nigerian American who was born to a dad who grew up on a farm. So a lot of things he told me growing up about how he was able to see the evolution of a seed to a tree or to a plant that his family's eating from, or just being able to contribute to his community really inspired me to delve into urban agriculture. Living in Washington, D.C., in a part where we consider a food desert in Southeast Washington, D.C., we had to reimagine our food sources. We have one grocery store that serves over 100,000 DC residents. So finding opportunities to have farmers markets or even creating community gardens is something that's very, very important. We're talking about climate change and how we can find ways to utilize our own resources to protect this planet and give our children a much more sustainable environment that we have right now. So I want to thank you all here at Educated Choice Programs and even people in organizations in DC like Martha's Table for really embracing opportunities like this, because when you hear about Congress, you hear about politics, it's always about the fighting and stuff like that. But these are the opportunities that I really want to delve into, because these are things that we all can do and can inspire other people as well to lean in forward. So this may be one of the first few opportunities coming in DC, but it definitely won't be the last as long as I'm here, because I believe in this. I believe in you all. And most importantly, I understand how we can cultivate this, how to make this a fruitful relationship, all puns intended, to get children or the more senior folks in our community really involved in not only sustaining our communities, but also making it look great and bringing a positive viewpoint and positive outlook to opportunities I often see negatively. So thanks so much for having me. More importantly, thank you for what you do for our community.
Thank you. We are honored to have you here today and to have you be part of this, all of you. And so now, without further ado, just a quick reminder, we will have a Q&A at the end of the showing. So you'll be able to ask questions in the chat to all of us. We are recording today, so please do keep yourself on mute. And I think that's all of the housekeeping items. So let's get this rolling. Without further ado, we're going to dig into growing community roots. Well, I don't know about all of you, but I'd like to go plant some things right now. So I'll see y'all later. No, I'm just kidding. My heart always warms when I see this. So first of all, just a quick reminder to everyone that we are still recording and to please remain on mute if you will. A couple of quick things to mention before we get into the Q&A. We are going to be dropping some links in the chat. So the chat is going to go live now. That's going to be there for a few things. You can drop some questions in there for any of us, and we will be answering those in just a moment. And also our team, who I just want to quickly thank from the bottom of my heart for putting this together. I can't take credit for any of this. This was our ACP family and all of our collaborators, and I just want to make sure that they all feel the love right now for what they've created. Our communications team is going to drop some links into this chat as we bring it live now. That's going to give you links to our toolkit that was just mentioned in the short, as well as share with you a new gardening guide. You have the first sneak peek access to this new shareable that's been created, and we're looking forward to sharing that with you. So we do have a couple of questions that have already came in. So we're going to start the Q&A now. The first one is for Lorena. And the question is, what other topics do we educate on, and how does someone go about accessing those?
Thank you for the question. We love that question. The best way to access all of our presentation is to visit our website, educatedchoices.org or ecprogram.org. Either URL will take you to the right place. On our website, you can see that our presentations are divided by the different subjects. We have health topic presentations, environmental presentations, and presentations that deal with society. We have full-length presentations, we have shorts, and everything has to do with food choices and the impact of these food choices on health, the environment, and society. We keep adding more presentations as time goes by, but I encourage everyone to visit our website and to explore all of our offerings in 3 different languages, as we mentioned. Thank you for the question.
Perfect. Thank you, Lorena. And also, I just want to say, as with anything online, we did have a small lag at certain points of today's showing. So please accept our apologies for that. And just know that when you do download the materials from our website, they are high quality, and that will not be happening. It was just the streaming that brought that about today. My next question is for Erica. We have a question as to how many people in Washington, D.C. Martha's Table supports, and how much land do you currently take up with your community garden?
Great, thank you for that question. So Martha's Table in Washington, D.C., we actually have services that reach across the city, but our primary area of impact is our zip code. I think you heard me say at the top of the video that we're really interested in making sure that people have access to the types of resources that they need and that they have the ability to thrive regardless of zip code. But we do know that due to things like some things that Representative Oye mentioned, like redlining, which is to housing discrimination that was very rampant in the 40s, 50s, 60s, and even into the 70s, that people were sort of put into neighborhoods that were under-resourced. And so we've taken it upon ourselves to try to have an impact specifically in the zip code that we are in, which is the 220 zip code area in Washington, D.C. The exact population of that zip code varies, but we have folks in programs, and we have over 100 families in our school that's here in Southeast. We have, I believe, 60 families at our school in Northwest, and then there are a variety of other programs. So it's a little hard to be able to give you an exact number, but there are thousands of people that are able to access Martha's Table programming through the variety of different programs that we offer. Did I answer that all the way? I think so.
I believe you did. I believe you did. Amazing work that you all do in the Washington, D.C. area. Thank you so much for that. Carly, I have one for you, and this is interesting. I think we've inspired some folks. They want to know where you recommend buying seeds from for them to start their own garden.
That is a great question. You can often find community seed swaps in a number of venues. If you have people in your neighborhood or community who you know are passionate about gardening, a lot of times they'll have spare seeds to share at a significantly lower cost. You can also, we buy a lot of seeds in bulk. So the resources that we use are Johnny's selected seeds, as well as high mowing organic seeds, and Southern Exposure seeds are kind of like the top 3 that we use most frequently. Have super high quality and a lot of great varieties. One of the most fun things you can do is go through a seed catalog and think like, wow, I had no idea you could describe a radish so deliciously in 17 different ways. But yeah, there's a lot of resources out there, especially for seed swaps too. So it's a great place to start.
The seed swap sounds like a great idea. Thank you, Carly. And yes, I get sucked into those seed catalogs and I end up buying way more than I could ever handle in my backyard. So I completely understand. All right,
Karen,
Erica, we're gonna.
Could I jump in real quick? I apologize for interrupting. I just wanted to also share that if you do some searches, there are some ways that you can find seeds that are specific to certain cultures. So if you're looking to plant culturally relevant seeds for a particular culture, that one place that I can recommend is Ujama seeds. It's Ujamma, and they also have you can actually search by culture, and that's a great resource to find different culturally relevant seeds if that's something that you're looking to do.
That's incredible. Thank you, Erica. I'm so glad you hopped in. And I actually have another question for you while we've got you on the mic. What is the best way to support a community garden or start one in their area?
So we were very lucky in that we met Carly and team from Loving Carrots, and they were able to support us in redesigning. We had a small sensory garden, and they were able to help us support us in redesigning our gardening space. Our gardening space is very small. We have 3 plots that are about 30 feet by 25 feet by something. It's a very, very small plots that we're using, but we're making the most of them. And so being able to locate an organization like a Loving Carrots that has the real expertise in building out gardens in different types of spaces, it's really helpful. So I would recommend searching to see if there's only one Loving Carrots, but if there is another organization that's in your area that might be able to help support you in sort of designing programs. There are also a lot of great free resources online, and sort of through extension programs where you can learn a lot about building out community gardening spaces. And so that's something that I highly recommend. Every state has an extension service or more than one. And those are great resources for farming and for community gardening. But my best suggestion is to find a sunny spot and get started. I'm actually a self-taught gardener. I am now in school for farming and gardening, but I started as a self-taught gardener, and it's really a great way to just sort of experiment, see what works in your space. So find a sunny spot and stick some plants in it and see how it grows, and you'd be amazed at how quickly things can expand from there.
Beautiful. All right, we've got more coming in. Carly, this is a good one. Can you offer any suggestions for introducing the idea of a community garden to your HOA?
That is a great question. I think one of the main things that HOAs are concerned about is maintenance and making sure that the garden looks cared for. That's one of the things that we run into most often. So establishing a committee or a group of people in your HOA who are invested in the success of the garden and coming up with a plan, a sketch, a layout, and making sure you have, a maintenance rotation and proving that you're going to be on top of it. I think is the best way to do that. The other thing I recommend that helps your garden look nice year round and be productive and not kind of fall into a state that a lot of gardens fall into come July, especially community gardens, is irrigation. And that's something that, depending on the location of the garden, is one of the biggest game changers that we found. And it's the number one thing that we install at community gardens and at school gardens, because, teachers don't have time to be out there watering 2 times a day. Students, while enthusiastic, can be, inconsistent waterers. So having a system that takes care of all the watering for you is kind of the best way to prove that your plot in your garden is going to be productive, consistent, beautiful, and isn't going to kind of turn into this sort of jungle that I think is like the biggest concern for HOAs, at least in our experience. So partnering with a landscaping company or a company like Loving Carrots, if there's one in your area, and coming up with a really solid plan for installation and maintenance, I think is the best way to move forward in that way.
I hope that every HOA gets a proposal and a letter here really soon. More communities need these. We've got a couple more questions coming in. We're going to run until 2. We're going to just try to get to every question that we can. Erica, Carly, I'll let you guys split these because they're sort of similar. One of them is, what are some of the quickest growing plants that someone can start their garden with?
Yeah, I can take that one. So depending on the time of the season, if you're planting right now, things that are quick are going to be things like radishes, salad greens, things that you can easily seed. If you mess up a little bit, they're pretty forgiving, not a lot of pest issues. You can get them in the ground and you'll have a harvest in a month. So that's like a really encouraging and good way to start. Herbs are also a really good and easy way to start, and something that's you can use a little bit of. If you don't have a lot of space, you can a little bit of like basil or cilantro or dill or parsley will go pretty far in your kitchen, and it feels really nice to be able to go outside and grab that and not think like, oh, I got to run to the store for 3 sprigs of basil. And then in the summer, when it's a little bit warmer, mid-May, you can start planting your summer crops, which are what most people are usually on the hunt for. And so I always recommend like hot peppers or sweet peppers are pretty easy to grow in a pot at home, and you get a high yield off of them. Herbs again, cucumbers really can take off, and those are a nice, easy one to get in the garden and get growing as well. So those are kind of like my top favorites that can make you feel pretty successful pretty quickly.
And super efficient there because you just answered both questions. But I do have another one. And it is there a benefit to using a raised bed over planting directly in the ground? Either one of you, go for it.
Yeah, well, I can start at what we did at Martha's Table, and you can speak to your experience there, Erica. So Martha's Table has 2 different varieties of vegetable gardens going on. So we did raised bed garden for their sensory garden, and that's kind of like where the kids are mostly growing. It's a little bit less space, but it's more strategically used with the raised beds. So raised beds are beneficial, especially if you have like a slope or you have a lot of runoff in your yard and you need to prevent your soil from washing out. If you have really hard soil and you need to kind of build it up a little bit to make it less clayey or less dense, it's a great option. It also helps with drainage. If you have a really wet yard or wet space you're growing in, raising that soil with a raised bed really helps kind of help with drainage, so your plant's roots aren't sitting in water. In-ground gardening is super easy if you have a nice flat space. It's a little bit less materials intensive, and you can get started with a lot less of an upfront investment of time and materials, and that's good. We have a production garden at Martha's Table that we installed last year, and so we really maximize the space so that they can grow a lot of a couple different crops and actually have something that they can harvest every week for their members of their community share. But Erica, what's been your experience in gardening in both?
Yeah, it's really fascinating to be able to have the 2 side by side, sort of see how they're working. And we do have some plants that are in both. So for example, we're growing carrots in the production space, but we're also growing carrots in our sensory garden space. And so I'm actually really excited to see like what the difference is in terms of the yield. So this is our first year really seeing that. So I'm excited to see that. What I do like about being able to have using the raised beds is you can kind of create these separate spaces. And so in our sensory garden, we stuck with raised beds because we have one box that is going to be dedicated to being a rainbow garden, so kids can look at different colors. We have one box that's going to be dedicated to strawberries. We have one box, so we're able to sort of have themes and sort of build around those themes. We can also companion plant really well that way. So when we put our tomatoes and nasturtium and basil all together in one big raised garden or raised bed, that works really well. But the in-ground bed, as Carly mentioned, is just we are able to actually just maximize, and we have so much more growing. We have fewer varieties, but a lot more of each one. And so our goal is to be able to actually have kids be able to take home a bag of, we're doing it around sort of like easy to eat veggies, beans and peppers and things you can just pop in your mouth, so that our kids in our school will literally be able to take home a little snack bag, once a month, full of things that are coming out of the production garden. So in terms of, for our purposes, the in-ground really is about maximizing space, and the raised bed is more about creating sort of themes around the different types of things that we're growing.
I'd say it depends on your site. Like, depending on what kind of space you have to work with, one may be better for you, particularly if it's sloped or wet, or you have a lot of raised beds also are helpful for a lot of kids in the garden, can kind of create a barrier to avoid things getting stepped on.
And we're actually building standing beds as well. So raised beds would be the beds that are sort of like boxes that sit on the ground. We're also having some standing beds, and they're about 4 feet high. And those beds we're going to be focused on in our intergenerational space for the elders in our community. So for folks that have accessibility issues or maybe can't kneel down on the ground, so that those folks will still be able to interact with the garden and with the kids in the garden. So that's another option as well.
You all are doing such a wonderful job in making sure that everyone in the community can have a hand in it. And it's just beautiful to see. Thank you so much for that. Lorena, I have another question that came in for you, asking if all of our materials are just for students or if anyone has the ability to access it and how to do so.
Great question. All of our materials are available for anyone who is 12 years old or older. And we have different silos. So we have a curriculum that is devoted especially for middle and high school, another silo for college students, and yet another silo for community members. So really anyone can access our presentations. And I think, this whole issue of planting seeds, again, pun intended, is about putting as much information as possible into as many people as possible, because information is power, and I think we are proving it today with just this live event.
Completely agree. And we encourage everyone to visit ecprogram.org. And if you head over to the presentations page, it will show you all of our digital offerings. And you can gain access there for free to anything that you want to share with family, friends, community, students. We hope that you will share it far and wide. Well, before we run out of time, being mindful that we do have some classrooms here that are joining us today, and we want to make sure that they are able to hear everything and see everything. Everyone who RSVP'd or attended today's event will be receiving a follow-up email that will include links to the toolkit and to the gardening guide and several other things that we've seen some questions about in the chat, to make sure that everyone has all of the information that they need. We want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts for joining us for our first ever live stream and for the first public showing of Growing Community Roots. And we want to once again just thank our collaborators, Love and Carrots, Martha's Table, and Representative Oye's office for making this all possible, and our entire ECP team. Thank you so much, and we hope that you all have a wonderful rest of the day, and go dig in the dirt.